Mike Neal, CEO of KAST Construction. You've had an incredible career, an amazing journey over many decades in the construction industry. Let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And how did you get into construction?
Thank you, first of all, for inviting me on your podcast. I've been watching these with great interest, and you and I are looking at a few things together, so it's a real pleasure to sit down with a guy that I consider emerging Miami real estate developer, a gentleman who is invested in becoming a thought leader in our industry. I do follow you very carefully and closely, and congratulations on your success. So thank you for having me here today. And,
Thank you, Mike.
I was born in Hollywood, Florida, so I am
You are a native.
a native Floridian. Not many of us guys rolling around here anymore, but proud to be a card-carrying member of the Native Floridian Club. I grew up in a more of a middle-class working family. My father was a union electrician.
Okay.
My mother was a stay-at-home homemaker. She raised me and my younger brother and sister, in a modest home in Hollywood where I stayed all the way through high school. I mean, I can tell you that both my mother and my father were big influencers in my life. My mother was more on the disciplinarian, keep your nose clean, do your homework, and my dad was all about the work ethic.
Yep.
And he insisted at an early age that I, pay my own freight. And that means, if you want to have some money to go up to the drugstore and buy candy or baseball cards, you have to figure out a way to make your own money. You're not getting it from me. So from an early age, I was out mowing lawns. I had a paper route, doing anything I could to make a few bucks. And it was instilled in me at a very early age. He then, when I was 15 or 16, he started taking me to job sites. And I think he wanted me to see how hard it was being him out there on the roof of a tall building, working in the sun. And, he gave me the hardest, nastiest task to perform. And again, it sucked at the time, but at some point in time,
How old were you at this time?
16, 17. And that was his way of telling me, you better figure out how to go to college.
Yep.
And he punctuated that lesson by, we were standing on the roof on one of the hottest days I can imagine. He says, "Hey, Mike, come over here." He pulled me to the other side, and some guy was pulling up in a clean white pickup truck, got out, crisp white shirt on, and he goes, "So let me just ask you a question. You know who that guy is?" I go, "He looks like some form of a boss." He goes, "Yeah, he's the guy running the show here." And he said, "Well, would you rather be doing what you're doing right now 20 years from today or doing what he's doing?" And I go, "Gotcha."
Yeah.
I understand, Dad.
Yeah.
So
That's a good lesson. So
Yeah.
your parents were disciplinarians. They were tough on you. They wanted to instill work ethic.
yeah.
There's a common theme here, and almost all of the entrepreneurs, business owners so far that we've interviewed, and it had Isaac on, we had Kobe on,
Yeah.
all of them mowed lawns. All of them were in the landscaping business in the early days.
Did you see how nice the grass was back when we were doing that? I mean, it was perfect.
It was. I mowed lawns when I was younger. It's probably a trait of young, budding entrepreneurs that you want to go out and do something for yourself. You want to do work. You want to contribute. You want to have some spending money. Maybe buy some baseball cards. That's really interesting that your dad got you into the business early on. He showed you kind of the ropes. How long did you work with him, and where did you go after your teens from there?
My 4 years of high school, I mean, he already had my life planned during the summers. You weren't going to be going to the beach surfing or, you weren't going to be sitting idly around with nothing to do. So he just thought that was his contribution to my upbringing and maybe value creation, life lessons that, I look back on. He was tough on me, like harder on me than he was on, the other guys on the job. But I think he was saying, I expect more from you. I expect you to grow up and be a man and be able to, take care of your family when you have one. That, when I finished high school, I enrolled in University of Florida. And by the way, I was, this is my confession to the world. I was not a great student.
Okay.
I was in high school. I was a competitive swimmer, a very good swimmer. I like to have a lot of fun, so I was not a serious, dedicated student. I think I had a capability to do well, but I didn't apply myself. And so I got into U of F with like a 2.7 GPA, which was like they laugh at you today. But I went in and I had no real idea what I wanted to do. I thought maybe a medical student. I tried to...
These were the days where your parents wanted you to be you were a
lawyer,
success if you were a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah, the A or B.
Yeah.
So I tried the pre-med curriculum, which was insane for me. I also look back at myself then. I realized I probably had serious attention deficit disorder, so I couldn't really sit down and concentrate on anything for long enough to absorb it.
You were interested in a lot of different.
Yes, I was multifaceted. So, kind of fumbled through the pre-med stuff for a while. Didn't like it. I go, man, I can't see myself involved here. So I started thinking about, kind of like, what do I know anything about? And I spent a few summers on some job sites, and there happened to be a school of construction at University of Florida. Mm-hmm. So I, went and saw the admissions guy and said, hey, look, here's what I'm thinking. And he goes, well, we have, you could try architecture, and because I do like creativity and design. I was always, doodling and things, but I said, let's do the construction thing. My dad did it. It was good enough for him. It's good enough for me.
Yeah.
So fast forward, graduated from the, it wasn't the Rinker School, which it is now, but it was the School of Building Construction. I got a bachelor's degree. Left Florida, went to work briefly for a developer in Miami.
What year was this?
This was 79.
Okay, 1979.
Yeah.
In Florida.
Now everybody knows how old I am. Thank you, Jay. So that was 1979, and went to work as a superintendent building homes for a big home builder down here in Florida, and that lasted for a few years, and then there was some recessionary factors. They laid off a ton of people, and the guy happened to know of a company called McDivitt and Street.
Okay.
So McDivitt and Street, I'd never heard of him. He goes, look, I got a buddy who works for him. Why don't you call him? And so I did, and I flew to Atlanta, got an interview, and the guy hired me on the spot. And so McDivitt and Street was a Charlotte-based general contracting firm led by a guy named Bob Street, who I'd love to talk about as a major influencer and mentor in my life.
That's great.
So this all builds on itself.
Yeah.
In terms of why I believe what I believe today about leadership and about culture and about things of that nature that I think are vitally important to any
Integrity,
business.
trust.
Yes.
Good relationships.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
So they hired me as a project engineer, and what that meant was you didn't know anything.
Yeah.
That was just a title they give kids out of school who didn't know anything,
Right.
and then they team you up with some crusty old guy that's going to help you learn the ropes and become, a full-fledged construction project manager or whatever. So,
And kids coming out of college, going into the workforce, they really don't know anything about. They have no experience.
Yeah.
They were in college. They studied a little bit. And this is for young people out there. And Mike's going to talk about this. He had a mentor, but you worked your way up over time. So these are the early days when you're just starting out and you're starting to learn and team up with some older individuals who mentored you.
yeah. So they were, let's say, a $200-300 million construction company back. This is 1982.
Okay.
I don't know.
Early 80s.
I don't know what that is in today's dollars, but probably a good bit more, right?
Yeah.
So they put me on a job site. Bob Street had become very close friends with a guy named Trammell Crow, who you probably heard that name.
Yep.
And Trammell was launching the Wyndham Hotel chain at that time. So we ended up building pretty much most of the Wyndham. So I was on one in Atlanta. We got another one in Austin, Texas. Then we have another one in Houston, Texas.
How was the pay back then?
I probably still have my first pay stub. So coming out of college, my annual salary was $13,500 a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So 13,500 coming out, just enough probably to get by. Maybe buy some couple.
I just spent that much getting my car repaired.
Yes. Times have changed.
And it was really a lot of fun for me because, I was a project engineer on the first Wyndham, which was about a year and a half, 2 years. I was project engineer on the second Wyndham, which is another year and a half, 2 years. I was project engineer on the third Wyndham, which was, these were all pretty big, 300 key hotels with, ballrooms and, nice hotels. Then I started wondering, am I going to be a project engineer forever? And I asked, I had a pretty good relationship with my boss, and I asked him, I said, hey, is this my job for forever? He goes, no, you're getting there. You're making improvements, but my philosophy as your boss is that you have to be performing in the role, which my next role would be assistant project manager, before you get a promotion. We don't give you a title before you have actually earned it.
Yep.
And
Even
novel
performing
concept, right?
ahead of where you were at.
Yeah. So great learning experience. I learned everything about all the technical side of the business. Technical, not people, not leadership. Technical. We're still builders. And then I think the next project, I was flown to Miami, and we built the Sofitel Hotel at Blue Lagoon. So I was the APM there, and then that was done, and I was promoted to project manager on that job.
Okay. Yeah.
That was great. And from there, we went to Palm Springs, California, to build a Wyndham Hotel and a convention center.
Yep.
I had really getting tired of Wyndhams at this point.
Yeah.
And so I was project manager on that job, which was a very large job because it also included the convention center aspect. And by this time, the Wyndham client and we had become really close. I mean, they kind of adopted me as their guy,
Yep.
And now it's Mike and Terry and Willie, who are these two crazy developers. They were a lot of fun to hang out with.
What made them?
Bob Street, one of his mantras was, we work hard, really, really hard, but we play equally as hard.
Yeah.
So Terry and Willie love Bob.
Okay.
Terry and Willie love Mike.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of damage to our livers.
You had a lot of fun. It was
And that relationship, even though they have retired, but we still talk to one another occasionally.
Yeah. That's and that shows you built that trust, you built those relationships over the years, and you've maintained them for decades.
Yeah. And it was cool. I was able to meet Mr. Crow, Trammell himself. He would actually somehow fly into wherever his jobs were, take a helicopter from the airport to the job site, which was kind of cool to see.
Yeah.
And this
Back
guy
then,
got out and he, walked the job with me, and it was those are great memories of coming up, working hard, getting really, really hungry for success. I kind of, at that point, I was 100% sure I knew what I wanted to do, and
You were making more money.
but also
More responsibility.
The people aspect of the job was really fun for me because the building the relationships, getting to see these buildings and the company, the client we were building for, how important that relationship was.
Yeah.
Bob, and the company that McDivitt Street were all about repeat customers, customer loyalty, and so that was really, really being ingrained in my being. I didn't realize it at the time, but those were things that I stand for today, things I incorporate in the way we do business at KAST.
So at this stage of your career, you're building the relationships. Repeat business is really important. And for the listeners out there, this is the long game. And it's important to orient ourselves towards this is not a transaction. You're working with someone, you have a deal in front of you, you have a client, you have a customer. The value comes over the long term and not just doing one deal. And sometimes that means you have to give something up or you have to go out of your way for that relationship, and you have to put the relationship first over money and over economics. So this is something that you learned early on in your career and you've taken with you.
Oh, we do it all the time. I mean, that is the nature of, I believe it's the nature of the construction industry.
Yeah.
But every construction company, I don't think every construction company behaves in the same manner, right? I mean, if you're a company that acquires your work from hard bidding and there's no relationship, it's all transactional, those builders conduct business in a more blunt, this is what the contract says, this is what's going on, right?
Yeah.
There's no middle ground. I view the construction industry as a service industry, right?
Yeah.
I don't make things. I build buildings, but I do that through people, through my service, through my pre-construction services, through our consulting business, and through our construction management company. But it is 100% a service business in my view, Mike Neal's view, and my long game, Jay, is about having you become a customer forever. Right. And so we're gonna hit some patches during a project where we don't agree. We're gonna encounter some stress in our relationship, and we might even get a little pissed at each other. But so the art form there is what I preach is let's not let friction points become combustion points. Somebody has to bend. Somebody has to. We have to sit face to face like this and force ourselves to resolve this issue. And I think we've been very successful at doing that and not exploding. We invest so much time in acquiring the work. We invest so much time in becoming friends and have a great business relationship where we really trust each other.
Yeah.
How horrible would it be for us to let one little stupid thing on a job, okay, it might cost me $100,000, might cost you $100,000, it might cost one of us more than the other, but hey, we work it out. And if we're playing the long game, the opportunity to make it right is going to come down the road. If I treat you right, you're going to say, hey, Mike, let's see, I'd like to negotiate another job with you because you stood up for what was right.
Right. Of course, business, there's terms, there's economics, there's money involved.
Yeah. And there's partners where, if you're the sponsor, you have to go to your investors and say, I really believe strongly that this company is trying to do the right thing here. It's going to cost, we're going to have to do a capital call or whatever it is you have to do to pay for that change order. Maybe you just communicate to them. But they want to feel, your investors want to feel you're fighting for them.
Yeah.
And you need to communicate, hey, I feel like Mike is fighting for this project and for this relationship. Let's move forward with this proposal.
That's right. Ray Dalio calls it disagreeing well.
Yeah.
Disagree well, have respect. You're not always going to see eye to eye, but putting the relationship first. You were building Wyndhams for Trammell Crow. You were promoted.
Yeah.
Where did you go from there? What was the next step?
So we stayed out in California and we acquired some new business. One of them was from Nestle, who was building a huge resort called the Esmeralda Resort.
Yep, I've been there.
I built that.
Okay. My sister used to take me there.
Yeah. And we built the Santa Monica Bay Hotel. And so I stayed out there in California for many, many years. And then sadly, Bob Street passed. And so they contracted the company, and I was reassigned back to Charlotte, North Carolina. That was where the headquarters was at the time. And there was a kind of a restructuring of the company. There was an acquisition of the company. Bovis bought the estate of Bob, and we were absorbed into the Bovis family, which was, they left the culture alone, they left us alone, so we were just business as usual with a new parent, and a very good parent, by the way.
Right.
And we became part of a bigger family of companies where we had Lair McGovern in New York and Shal out of Chicago. We are now part of that. And I think we had more global resources and things of that nature to make us a better company. And they grew through acquisition, but they were great at not messing with the culture. So I became Senior VP of Healthcare Construction, a guy who's only built hotels.
Yeah.
I guess healthcare is kind of a hotel, but they do these horrible procedures and things like that. So at that point, I was assigned a team. So it's now more of a leader of a market sector leader with a team, and we had good healthcare experience. So we were not selling from an empty cart. Bob was equally as good friends with a guy named Thomas Frist, who started HCA Healthcare. So we are now doing the majority of HCA's business, and a lot of good positive momentum happening in the company at that time. So we, under my leadership, but with really, really great people, we expanded our healthcare group, and we were doing massive hospitals regionally: Raleigh, Charlotte, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, that whole region of the Southeast. And then one day out of the blue, our CEO came and said, "Mike, I got to ask you a big favor." I go, "What's that?" He said, "Well, we have a problematic office in Richmond, Virginia, and somebody needs to fix it. And that's going to be you." It wasn't.
Yeah.
Do you have
He
interest?
didn't ask you. He told you.
So the Neal family relocated yet again to Richmond, and that was a bigger challenge than I had anticipated, because not only was the employees were very unhappy. The culture in that office had turned to mush. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a damn. Our clients were not fond of us because we had failed on several projects. The subs were not fond of us because they got hurt when we got hurt. So it was a complete makeover of an office. And like I tell you, I got up there. I thought I'd been launched to the moon. I didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
I had no idea how I was going to.
Florida guy.
Didn't know. I didn't even know where to.
Springs,
I don't know where to begin. So I just, let's take
How
it
old
one.
were you at this time?
Early mid-40s.
Yeah. Yeah. So 20 years of experience by now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was sort of, which side of the equation do you fix on? Do you fix our people first? Do I go and try to make amends with my customers first? Do I do both simultaneously? And I said, I got to work on both, because you can't have one without the other, right?
Yep.
So, and it wasn't a quick fix. It was clumsy, because you can't get through things like that. My first meeting with the client goes, why are you even bother coming here?
Wow.
Yeah. Do you know how much we hate you?
Wow.
It was that sort of a warm reception you get, right? So, I didn't go away. I kept on.
You stuck with it.
Subtly going back. Hey, can we, and I think maybe try to earn trust first on a personal level, where they go, hey, like, I'm not the old sheriff. I'm the new guy.
Yep.
I'm here. I call and ask people about my reputation and how I treat people, and then we had to do some purging of employees whose attitudes were never going to change, and kind of did a restructuring of that office, brought in some fresh blood, new talent, And, over about a 5-year period, we turned it around. We were profitable once again. We are getting market share. I mean, Richmond and Virginia, our market was from Virginia Beach to Charlottesville, sort of a 150-mile circle. And we did a lot of healthcare. We did a lot of Class A office, some other types of some hospitality work. But that was my final assignment at McDivitt Street.
At McDivitt Street.
Yeah.
So let's peel the onion a little bit here. So you moved up to Richmond. You had to purge. You were in a messy, tough, not great situation. You had unhappy clients. You had a team that wasn't great. How did you hire? How did you build the momentum and in a positive direction to start winning business and become profitable?
Well, I mean, the good news is that Bob Street had a great culture. McDivitt Street was where I learned everything about culture. So
what made it a good culture?
Well, first of all, he studied like I have. He tried to go out and benchmark from the greatest companies out there. I don't know if he did only service businesses, but he wanted to know how would he build the culture of his business. So it kind of boils down to what our core values are today at KAST. People first, extreme ownership, and be the best, right?
Yeah.
So people first means we take care of our people, okay? We treat them with respect. We train them. We have great leadership that they could look up to and mentorship. And, ultimately that gives you a career path in a place you want to be, a place that you're proud to work for, a company that is, let's say, one of the most admired companies in the industry. And we had that already. This one office was the only broken part.
So you just had to raise their level to your level.
Well, we say, hey guys, look who we work for. We're working for a great company. We just have not had a winning season in about 5 years.
Yeah.
And it sucks to be on a team that's not winning.
Yeah.
So kind of, the old coach pep talk, a little inspirational leadership, kind of spending more time with them one-on-one, doing some team. Whenever we got the smallest win, we would try to, rejoice and celebrate and, give recognition. So, you could start to see everybody, smiles are starting to go back on the faces. We were competing for work again, getting shots at some new deals. And we started winning. Yeah. And, winning is contagious.
Yes.
And, then everybody's starting to walk, straighter back.
Yeah, good. Yep.
And, oddly enough, some of the same customers that told me in year one that don't bother coming back here, and it was really hard to get, even past their executive assistant. I'm Mike Neal with, Bill's Construction. And, oh, hey, did she say Bill's? No, it's McDivitt Street.
Yeah.
You sneak in the back door and, get their attention. But so that's, the people first, I talked about that. Extreme ownership is kind of our knock on over after who Jocko Willink is?
Yes.
So he wrote this book called Extreme Ownership, and he has these
Navy
boot
SEAL.
camps called, and it's all about accountability, okay? Accountability to the team, accountability to the mission, and accountability to yourself, right?
Yeah,
and we have all, that is a pretty deep pot of subject matter, accountability. It means like, if you can't get something done, ask for help. There's always somebody there that's in the foxhole with you. Don't have a high sense of urgency. This is a time-sensitive business. Tick tock, tick tock.
Yep.
A bad news does not get better with age in this industry. So if you got a problem, don't hide it. Let's swarm it. Let's tackle it. Let's bring it to its knees while it's cheap to solve, while it hasn't cost us any money or any time or any reputational damage. And be the best means that's all, again, a deep pot of stuff, but it's all about continuous improvement, about getting better every day, every week, every year, and being able to measure that improvement. And that goes to improvement in our processes, improvement in our culture, improvement in the way we deliver our services, and certainly not the least of which is the quality of the work we deliver.
Yes. You've really outlined your core values, your North Star, your code of ethics, really, and how you operate. People, that's always a theme. You have to focus on your people. You have to be accountable, a high sense of urgency, especially in construction, the development business. Time is money. So you turned Richmond, Virginia around into a success. You became profitable. What was next for Mike Neal from there?
Well, I quit, Jay.
Okay. You said, I'm out of here.
I found myself in a situation where I felt there was a little bit of a rift between me and the guy I was working for that wasn't really seeing the value I was creating for the company, and had I'd probably been working for the company longer than he had, and really didn't know my story, didn't know my heart, didn't know what, because I felt like I was just getting started.
Yeah.
I had a lot more to give.
Yeah.
And there were some disagreements over things that he and I couldn't work through, and my phone had been ringing off the hook.
I bet.
And sadly, the individual that was calling me the most persistently, psycho-dialing me, turned out to be a company that I never, ever should have gone. So I left a 25-year career at a company I loved.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was the emotional equivalent of a divorce, because it was all I just wanted just a little bit more.
Yeah. And this guy was standing in
And
your way.
he was just locking down and saying no.
Yeah.
And I asked him more than once. I found out what, a little bit of a period of my life where I was spinning, like in a way I had lost control of my life. So this could be a funny story, but it's really not. So I came home one night and I told my wife, I said, listen, I've resigned from my job. We had just built a dream home in Richmond.
Okay.
Old Southern mansion-looking place, Gone with the Wind-ish. And, we were loving our life, loving our neighborhood. Our kids were happily in school. And, she was feeling maybe the beginnings of some roots beginning to play, because we had moved so many times. We were gypsies, right?
Wow.
And I said, hey, I resigned today. She goes, what are you doing? I go, well, I got an offer at really, really stupid money. Really stupid money.
Okay.
3 times what I had been making, And I should have known then and there, if I was a wiser man, that was too good to be true. So, at any rate, I moved down to Florida on my own, left my wife up there. I said, get the house on the market. And I was made.
You were ready to go.
I was.
Yeah.
I was,
3X yours. Let's go.
Prepare to launch.
Yeah.
And I moved to West Palm and took over, was supposed to be taking over an office that was not going well for this particular company. And the guy said, look, it's just going to be, you're going to get down there, we're going to make the changes right away, and you take it and you put your own footprint on it, your fingerprints, footprints, all the prints you can put on there. And so I got there, and, week 1 was okay. I mean, it was going per plan. And this one individual I was supposed to replace was supposed to be gone within the first 10 days.
Okay.
And this guy was trouble.
It was a problem. Okay.
And, this is the same thing as Richmond. The subs weren't in front of us. Client, we had the bad reputation. So I said, man, this is going to be easy now. I know how to do this.
Right. So with experience, over time, you've seen it.
Yeah. So one day, the guy was calling me at 5:30 every morning. This is the owner of the company I was working for.
Okay.
5:30.
Yeah.
I was expected to be in the office 5:30. He didn't tell me that, but
Yeah.
I was getting calls. He goes, "Are you in the office yet?" I go, "No." Well, yeah, okay. I'm an early riser anyway. I just won't have my meditation time in the morning or whatever,
Yeah.
or my workouts. So So long story short, this guy never left. The person I was supposed to replace, and so one morning the guy called me up and said, "Hey, how's it going?" I go, "Well, it's
So-and-so.
not going
Yeah.
well."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I go, "Well, you told me I quit my job. You told me by now, this is like 3 or 4 weeks past the date you told me this gentleman who was the troublemaker in this office,
Yeah.
the reason you hired me is still here." And he goes, "Yeah, well, I've kind of changed my mind on that."
Wow.
And I just think you guys should co-pilot the office together.
Wow.
And I said, this is
Yeah.
not, the culture here is so toxic that you're never going to get another job here.
Yeah.
And our people are leaving
Yeah.
by
Yeah. In droves.
in droves.
Yeah.
And he goes, he went nuts.
Wow.
Don't you tell me about my culture. Who do you think you are? And blah, blah. So here's the funny part of the story. So the day before that call, my wife had called me. She's all happy. We sold the house. Everything is great. 2 minutes during that call, I told the fella, I'm leaving. I'm gone. You go ahead and keep what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I was gone.
Yeah. Wow. So it was you made the move.
Yeah.
You saw this guy wasn't making a change.
Yep.
And what did you think about in that moment? And what were your next steps?
Well, I was thinking, how am I going to call my wife and tell her we're jobless and homeless?
Yeah.
And but I listen. I said, look, this is just a temporary thing. We persevere. We move on. I'm ready to go. We will find the right thing. But it's just so when you grow up in such a beautiful family, a beautiful culture, and can be part of that, it's hard to replace it because not many people have it.
Right.
That was the dawning of realization is like how bloody important culture is.
Yeah.
How incredibly important it is. So from there, I was very lucky. I found I had an acquaintance who knew of an opening at a company in Fort Lauderdale called KAST.
Okay.
So KAST was a vertical division of Brookfield
Okay.
Homes.
Yeah.
So they were a home builder
Yep.
in the Northeast and Canada and here and there. And so that we were a vertically integrated, Coscan was a vertically integrated builder developer. And we had a 5-tower project that was just getting started at the point of Aventura. So I came on board replacing a senior VP of construction position that the guy that was there before me went over to work for Jeffrey Sofer.
Yep. Okay.
So
Owner of the Fountain Blue.
yep. So I accepted the job and off we go. And that was a good start, man. I love the guy that hired me. The deal was he was going to run the development company. I was going to run the construction company. At the time, our covenants with Brookfield, we could not build outside of our own account, but we had plenty of work. We were feeding. We didn't have to have a big machine, but we had 2 or 3 projects going on at a given time. I had great guys.
Yeah.
Life was good.
Yeah.
Life was really, really good.
Awesome.
And we, at some point in time around 2002, the guys from Brookfield were signaling to us that they were not too excited about continuing doing high-rise condos.
Okay.
We're going, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And so we listened, and we kept hearing it. And they would come down. Actually, it was funny. I didn't know how significant of a guy he was at the time, but Bruce Flatt
Yep. Became the
was
CEO.
coming to our offices.
Wow.
And I don't think he was in the position he was in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he was reporting to the guy a guy named Ian Cockwell, and who Ian has since retired. So that was really like, I look back, I go, man, I was kind of sitting right next to Bruce at one point in my life. So long story short, we had heard it enough to where we kind of looked into, how can we go horizontal rather than vertical, and go, or do we go compete with Lennar, DR Horton, GL Homes? There's no way we could reinvent ourselves and pivot like that. So I was talking to Al, my partner, and we said, should we muster up the courage to ask him if we could buy the company?
Wow.
Should we do that?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I got $10.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, I got 20. So
Yeah.
I said, well, shucks, let's buy us a company.
Yeah.
And so one day we had a call with Ian. It was not about buying the company, but it was a status call, pipeline call. What are we doing? How's it going? Blah blah blah. He said, Ian, we've been hearing, you've been mentioning a lot about this no more condo stuff. This is a condo market.
Yeah.
This is a really good condo market, and we don't see ourselves becoming something that we're not.
Home builders going in a new direction.
That's not what
right.
we do. That's not our skill set. Would there be a plan that is a win-win that we can acquire? Let's talk about an acquisition of the assets and the liabilities, and let you go and do what you need to do. And the whole underlying thing here was that the shareholders did not like the home building company doing something outside of its normal business, right? That was a stain on their balance sheet.
Okay.
And so the phone got quiet for like a whole minute. He didn't say anything.
Wow.
We're going, should we pack now?
Yeah.
And he had this fun little South African accent, but he said, why don't you get on a flight and come up to Toronto?
Yeah. Bruce.
No, not Bruce. Ian.
Ian.
No,
Okay.
Bruce didn't talk like that.
Okay, yeah.
Bruce is very Canadian.
Yeah.
I think. So Al and I went up to meet with Ian, and he just sketched out all this stuff, and he goes, "Yeah, I think we could do this." So here's a summary. You guys, here's the capital you need to go in, your initial contribution. We will hold on to the land for site 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll put that in as our equity.
Yep. Where were these sites?
In Aventura, the point at Aventura.
Yeah. Okay.
Atlantic 2, Atlantic 3,
Yep.
and Atlantic 4. And we're sitting here going, oh my God, this is happening. And we will guarantee the loans.
Wow. What a dream.
So we immediately, Al and I, we bought the company outright. There was a PSA.
Yeah.
We bought the company. We had 800-pound gorilla as our capital partner, our guarantor on our loans, and we became fee developers, and we got
Did you have to raise money from investors, or you guys
no,
pulled
we,
together
we,
your own capital?
We bet the farm.
Amazing.
Like everything. We
Yeah.
kind of knew this could be that kind of.
It sounds like
Once I knew that I didn't have to worry about
yeah.
signing on the personally
Incredible.
on the note, because it was a lot way beyond our balance sheet.
You
to do
have
that.
deals. You have a existing relationship.
And so we had several years of work out ahead of us. So we had a good runway to, grow our platform.
Yep.
We were able to take the restriction of building for other other developers. So the construction company now, my phone had been ringing off the hook. And I was
Set you
telling,
free.
Set us free. Our very first job was Trump Tower for Gill.
Wow.
And then that kept going and going and going.
And it grew from there.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
And this is the mid 2000s.
This was 2003.
Okay.
So
Early 2000s.
And then we got one of my buddies from McDevitt Street worked for Edgardo, we got the Jade Ocean project.
Yeah.
These are big projects.
These are huge projects.
For kind of a,
Yeah.
it wasn't a startup because we already were established and had a great reputation, but, banks were telling developers you should work with KAST. Our banks were, we had B of A and I think SunTrust was it? So we had great real estate banks and great banking relationships. So things were going good. And then we had started a couple of smaller development deals on our own. And then 2007 came around.
Before we get there,
Yeah.
from 2003 to 2007,
Yeah.
was Brookfield still signing on the loans?
For the point of Aventura, once we finished that, those were their land assets, legacy assets, then we had to go figure it out on our own.
The new sponsor, or whoever the equity.
Yep. Well, we were the sponsor.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. So building new venture, a lot of success. There's, of course, there was challenges on your journey. Richmond, you solved that 5 years.
Yeah.
Taking on a new opportunity with someone and then having to leave, and this opportunity here. What was 2007, 8, 9 like for the viewers? Some people lived through it. I was just graduating college in 2007. I did enter the workforce at that time. But someone who was in the market, who had experience, talk about what that looked like and how that unfolded.
2007 came along, and we had some condo pipeline. We were Miami only, condo only guys. That's all we did.
Yeah.
We were not diverse.
The market was hot.
The market was hot, but we were one-trick ponies in terms of not being exposed to multifamily, to hospitality, to other sectors. So we bet everything on the condo market. So you know what that looks like. So the spigot shut off. Sales centers in a weekend went dark.
Yeah. Lehman Brothers gone.
Oh, and we were building one for Lehman Brothers.
Wow.
Yeah. In Miami, and in Coral Gables. So
I can imagine.
So it kind of unfolded.
Was
Kind of, like my partner, I remember him going, he goes, yeah, man, we were selling, 2 and 3, 4 a week,
Were there signs? Did you feel like, at this time, I was in college, but I remember guys from my fraternity, they had just entered the mortgage business. And immediately, first year out, they're making $250,000 in the mortgage business, signing up everybody for loans. The taxi driver was buying homes, the bartender, there were. So were there signs that you felt like?
I don't think we were looking in the right direction. I think we were really just trying to run our business and relying on our banks to do the, be reading the market and paying attention. I mean, look at their lending practice was absurd.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Like
anybody. State income.
Right. So was that our problem? Not when things were good. It became our problem. It was the problems were a knock-on impact of sloppy lending, unregulated behavior. I mean, just lots of things like that. But so long story short, we wrote it out. We finished all of the jobs we had contracts on. But what we started having to do, we said, look, we're going to have to wind down our development company, right? And so we had 2 projects that we had loans on, we had responsibility for. We had a pretty good balance sheet by this time. And we were able to go do a amicable workout with our lenders.
Yep.
And those same lenders today, if I were developing today, all day long, I would be credit worthy.
Yeah.
Because
You did the right thing.
We
You
did.
delivered. Yeah.
And there were thoughts going through my head and my wife's head where, boy, are we signed personally on these loans, so I mean, we could have lost everything as well, but I think the way we went to the banks proactively, said, hey, look, we don't see a bright future here, and we need to sit down and work things out with you. They were a little salty at first.
Yeah.
This is the same time other developers in
Oh, 809.
Miami
I mean, everything was
were handing the keys
blowing
back
up,
to the
yeah,
banks.
at
I
this
mean,
time.
the biggest developers in Miami were doing
yeah.
it. So we were all at the same party at the same time, dealing with the same.
No one's happy about it,
And so the developer community, the banking community worked things out. The construction company, I was pretty stressed out at that point in time. So we finished our construction jobs, and my partner and I made a decision just to let's retire.
Yeah.
We're okay. We could retire.
Yeah.
So I had a house in the Keys. I just wanted to get away from Miami. My wife and I just went down there, and we spent 2 years in Miami fishing.
Yeah. Fishing. And what you still do today.
I do. Just I don't have the time to do it now because I'm working too damn hard.
Yeah.
So that's a good segue into okay, well, where did KAST come from?
Yeah.
So one of the great people I met in my life while we were had KAST, there was a developer from Canada that Brookfield introduced this developer to us. This developer happened to be Coulter, and this is in 2010. We were working on a joint venture to build a big condo in West Palm Beach.
Okay.
It was going to be a Coulter KAST deal where we would build it, we would co-develop it, and blah blah blah. And we worked together with all the folks at Coulter. Incredible talent there, incredible knowledge, good people to work with, and I had kind of gotten to know Bobby Julian pretty well. And
How big was Coulter at this time?
I don't know, to be honest with you. We just know what their portfolio in Canada was massive.
Okay.
They're the real deal.
Yeah.
But they didn't have Florida experience maybe at the time. But there was a suggestion, I think, from the lender to lay off some risk, let both Coulter and KAST do it together, combine forces and do the first one that way. So underwriting was in progress, design was in progress, maybe permitting. I can't remember. This is in 2010, and then 9/11 happened.
Wow.
9/11 happened. So the result of Brookfield, if you're familiar with the World Trade Center, most of the buildings that are on the perimeter are Brookfield towers.
Yeah.
And they took a pretty big hit, and they decided that they were not going to stay in the deal. So Coulter ended up building the project on their own. They hired another GC, and we did not participate, but Bobby and I had always stayed in touch.
Yeah.
So
Relationships, people.
yeah. So he would call me, like once a quarter. He goes, did you fish today? And I said, yeah. And I said, yesterday and the day before. And he goes, aren't you tired of that yet? And I go, I said, I'm not tired. He goes, well, let me ask the question differently. Do you ever want to get back in business? And I said, I haven't really been thinking about it, but I think at some point in time, I can't do this forever.
Right.
But I just needed this space.
Yeah.
Been through a couple of tough years. Bobby went, Coulter went through some tough times too. So long story short, Bobby invited me up to visit with him one week, and we talked, and he said, listen, in 2005, we started a construction company. We hired a bunch of guys, it's not really a proper company, but we hired a bunch of guys to build our first project, our second project, 2 City Plaza. And he said, we started that in '05. We finished it in '07. And I don't know what to do with the business, quite honestly. We don't have anything we're going to do. So I thought this would be an opportunity. Now he said, look, this was back in 2010. He goes, I know the economy is improving, and we are sitting on a bunch of deals that we are going to start when the time is right. He goes, but it would be great to know that I had a leader who could, turn this company into what it should be and what it could be. You know how to do that. And I said, yeah. And he goes, why don't you think about it? And I said, but you need to have skin in the game. You need to be a significant shareholder. So I'd like to hear back from you and tell me what you think. And
So that was the beginning. I want to
yeah,
call out 2 points that you made, and for the viewers here. So the financial crisis started in 2007 when Lehman Brothers went under. 2008 was very tough. 2009.
yeah,
In 2010, things are starting to settle. The dust is starting to settle.
yeah.
Sounds like getting a little better.
Yeah, lending had probably been reformed
Yep.
by that time. The banks the lenders had, the government had
There was
bailed
TARP.
out the big
There was
banks,
TARP.
yeah, yeah, all that stuff.
And just for the viewers, this is like a 3-year period, and in the moment, I'm sure was super hard. There was pain. You wanted to go, and a lot of people had challenges and
Yeah.
had to work through it. Looking back, it sounds, it obviously wasn't a blip, but it's a few-year period, and people got through it. So for the listeners, in the moment, you might be having a tough week, a tough month, a tough year, maybe even a couple years.
Yeah,
But it gets better. And as time goes on and you zoom out and you look at your career, it's you want to do the right things in those times, because ultimately the markets do come back. And then the second thing that I want to point out is that when you're young, you don't expect things to come full circle as much. And industries are small, and relationships are super important. And you built really good relationships. You built trust. You put people first. And so Bobby, he called you. You were the one, even though you didn't do the first deal.
Yeah.
You might have thought like, oh, forget about them. But relationships come full circle. So it's really important how you treat people.
100%. I mean, at the end of the day, how you conduct yourself, I think maybe more so during times when things are really tough.
Yeah.
It is showing, it's going to speak volumes about your character, right? Your character, who you are, and the kind of man or woman or person, that you are.
In the tough times. Yeah.
Yep. And you have choice to make. You don't have to, it might be the easy way out to be more self-serving, but I wasn't raised that way.
Right.
I wasn't raised that way. I always intuitively know that what you do today, what you say today, how you act today could reflect on you forever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Reputation takes decades, years to build up, and can be ruined in an instant.
Overnight.
Yeah. Overnight. So 2010, 11, you're putting this opportunity, Bobby calls you, together. So KAST is born during that time.
Yeah, I think that's when you could separate it from, being a captive in-house, intended to be a captive in-house builder that was no longer going to be used in that fashion. And now, Bobby, I think, realized that, hey, it's going to be a better company over the long term if Coulter isn't the only client that this business has. He stayed in. He left whatever equity he had. I can't remember. Was probably not an impressive number, but back in 2009 or 10, whenever he had some capital in that business, is probably, I hope he says to me someday that was a really good investment.
Yeah. Yep.
But he had no intention of managing the company. He wanted to be a passive investor. He as a shareholder had the ability to put new work in at his discretion. And in 2011, we put together the beginnings of like what KAST would look like down the road, what our aspirational vision for that company was, and certainly after the beating I took in the great financial crisis, the short-sightedness I had was I had 10 years where I could have diversified outside of the residential, the condo sector, and maybe got into multifamily, which did still persist in some fashion, maybe diminished during the Great Recession, but there was multifamily work going on and other work going on. And so one of the first things I did was make sure that I got on an airplane and went on a road show, met every national multifamily developer doing business in Florida.
Yeah.
Every one of them. And we have built for most of them.
So you took your experience of being hyper-focused, and some may say focus isn't an advantage. You said, let's be diversified.
Let's be smart. Let's be evergreen. Let's build a sustainable model that can withstand the cycles
ebbs
that
and
have
flows
always
of-
been in Florida forever and ever and ever.
In all markets.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So at this time, so then you expanded beyond Coulter. So you were doing projects for Coulter and then also on your own.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you started building multifamily. And what's from a contractor's perspective, what's the difference building multifamily versus building condos?
I mean, functionally, nothing. Right? I mean, they're residential places where people live. I think the condominiums tend to be higher end, more highly amenitized, and then they have an association which you have to deal with. So, from a business perspective, the condos are higher risk, right? And that risk has to be dealt with in a number of different ways. But we don't treat anything we build. I mean, we build everything like it's going to have the tail risk of a condominium, including multifamily, and they all have the same statutory requirements for warranties. So we just figure, hey, let's just use this as an excuse to build the most robust quality program we can to deliver exceptional value, exceptional quality, exceptional experience for the home buyers that are coming in. We now we'll do buyer walks with the buyers and try to put a bottle of champagne on the countertop, and we are typically getting buyer walks with less than 10 punch list items.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and many with none.
Yeah, that's a high attention to detail, high quality.
Yeah, and it's at this juncture of our evolution, it's muscle memory. And there's a customer care that's part of the overall experience our customers get. It overlaps with pre-construction, it overlaps with construction, and it overlaps with warranty and the final phase of the job where we finish, we get a TCO, we get a CO. You're my client. My customer care is hooking up with your warranty group, your customer service group, and we're making sure that we get you on our platform. If any of your buyers have an issue, they can notify us in our software, and we'll respond within 24 hours.
How have costs and the process of building structures, how has that evolved? And how have costs, we know there was a spike during COVID. There was construction costs went through the roof, and they've settled recently. How has that changed over the last 5 years?
The way I think it's almost like a storybook,
Yeah.
right? There's different chapters. The first chapter, the one that made me have the reflex of the great financial crisis, we didn't know what was coming. It was like, oh God, they're social distancing. People can't go to work. People can't go to school. Thank God, DeSantis deemed construction as an essential industry.
Yeah.
And we had COVID protocols, both but we can't work from the office. We had to go to a job site.
Yeah.
So I would almost tell you that 2020, the year we rolled out our whole COVID thing, nothing really changed. It was
Okay.
business as usual
Yeah.
with some twists, right? So that was 2020. In 2021 felt the impact of the plant closures, the lumber plants, the steel mills, the fabrication plants, all around the world. Some places locked down for that whole year. And so now in 2020, there was scarcity in materials.
Yeah.
And everybody just piled on, and we saw, in my lifetime, I don't think we ever saw a spike. Some people say the low end of it was 25%, the high end was 35 to 40%. So we saw a huge spike in costs during 2021. Okay, chapter 3, well, during that chapter, contractors that had signed agreements, we would go sign a GMP, then we'd buy the jobs out.
Yeah.
So when we went to buy the jobs out, I'm going, yeah, I can't, subs are saying, we can't honor this anymore. Our price went up, So we took the hit,
Wow.
okay? Many contractors were not able to go back to their owners and say, hey, they go, hey, you had a contract.
Yeah.
Tough luck. So we took the hit. Then
How do you navigate that? You sign a GMP, subcontractors, they can't honor their,
Well, you try to collaborate with your client, who's usually going to be the less sympathetic to your deal. He goes, hey man, that's the contractor risk. You knew it. Put on your big boy pants.
Right.
All right, yeah, we can do it. Thank God we have a nice balance sheet, and
Yeah.
we dealt with it.
Yeah.
We tried to deal with the subs, and some of the subs would work with us. Say, yeah, I get it. That's a big ask. Let's figure out what to do. Then we saw some persistent supply chain issues with switchgear, which is a big delayer. There were components for elevator equipment that were supply chain. So we could get the elevator equipment to the job, but if you didn't have the other components that made the elevators work, you couldn't deliver an elevator.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff went on all the way through 24 and partially into 25. And I feel like last year, the world went mostly back to normal. We haven't seen any big kicks in the pants from the tariffs.
Yeah.
So that was like tariffs all of a sudden were.
It was a shock. It was a big scare
It was
and an unknown.
a big scare, created a lot of volatility, and everybody was planning for war, and
Yeah.
we're negotiating contracts with owners. Well, you take the tariffs. No, you take the tariffs. Hey, and so that seems to be like all the dust is kind of settling. So before COVID, costs were escalating on a curve of about 5 to 6% per year, and I would say we are back on that, but you have to deal with the
The ebbs and flows of the market. And,
well, it's all been up.
Yeah.
And so now in 2023, we had a bunch of multifamily, some big towers that were supposed to go. And guess what?
Yeah.
Costs went up so prohibitively, there was no yield. Investors pulled
Interest
out.
rates went up. Yeah.
Multifamily fell flat on its face,
Yeah.
especially the tower work. We're doing some garden stuff, some mid-rise, but by and large, multifamily has been anemic.
Yeah. The last
And
few years.
I don't know if it's, I think it's got to come back, but in our business, we're not seeing the same velocity and flow when we're looking more to the condominium space.
Yep.
to make our money. And right now, even condo sales are somewhat slow, right? I mean,
Yeah.
not everybody's lighting it up at the sales center. I think about this a lot. I'm always thinking about, looking over the horizon and, what is the next way to make KAST more resilient, right? Better at absorbing the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of the markets. How do we hold on to our culture that we've worked so hard? Culture is one of those things that it's easy to say, but really, really hard to get right.
Yep.
And those things that make our company, I'd say, like, if you want to say what do we aspire to be, the most admired company?
Yeah.
That's what I really want for our company. So to address the volatility and the cycles in the markets, we've been working on an initiative for the last 3 years. I've taken one of my partners and said, you have a new job. And that is to be our champion of market diversification. And this guy comes from a public sector background, courthouses, public safety, K through 12, higher ed. So he has a pretty good network of people in that space. But, it's so political that getting in, when you get shortlisted on a public sector project, nobody wants to be there. There's no boldness to work with the new guy. They like to,
No, that's true.
to stay with the status quo. So after 3 years, we are finally winning. We've just been awarded a couple of really nice school projects. We're shortlisted on, I think, a really big high school in Miami-Dade County Public Schools. We're picking up a little bit of work at Florida Atlantic University, and he's trying to deploy this whole strategy in all three of our offices. So, it just shows you that the investment cycle in that type of effort takes a long time, and I think it's going to take another. I think we're 3 to 5 years from now, we'll have the flywheel moving. There'll be some momentum. We will be the recognizable brand, but it is, I think, one of the most important investments we're making in our business to kind of create that evergreen, sustainable model where, public sector is up when private sector is down.
Yeah.
And, we're the other, we're already pretty well heeled in hospitality, obviously resi. We're doing some Class A office. There haven't been a whole lot of new office, but we've got one really amazing one on our, we're close to getting a GMP sign for
Wow.
that.
Awesome.
So you'll be hearing more about that.
Great.
I got to keep it a little confidential at the minute. So I think, what else is there in the mix? We hear so much about data centers. I don't think data centers are going to come to Florida. I don't think we're the state that's really wanting to be in that
No.
market.
The highest and best use of our land is not data centers.
Well, that's right. But they're going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I told you early in the conversation, I was born almost 70 years ago, so I'm thinking more these days about succession planning.
Yep.
And I feel like I have got the organization so dialed in with leaders, a deep bench of leaders. I got partners running my offices. They are, they're hunter killers, right? They got to go sell the work that they have, and they got to execute it well, and run it like their own company, and so the company doesn't depend solely on one human being. We're a $1 billion organization. It's absurd to think that I am as important today,
Right.
as I was back in 2011. Right? It's people still know me. They recognize me. I have a lot of great friends and relationships out there. But the reality is, a business can't operate without great leaders at every level of the organization.
Right.
So I think that box has been checked, and I'm very, very proud of the organization we have today. And then, listen, I really think that the bigger you get, the harder it is to maintain that rich culture, that most admired workplace.
Yeah.
Because it's a full-time job. So what we have done maybe to help address that more is we went out and we hired a recruiter to identify a corporate director of learning, not a trainer, but a director of learning. And we found somebody, I think that came out of like Procter and Gamble or one of these
Yeah.
big publics, and they were so excited about our story that they've left a really, really good job to come join our firm. And we have a great training program going on. He's only been with us about a year, so it's been a lot of time planning and assessing. But I think now that people see that our commitment, our employees see our commitment to that, that, hey, you care enough about me to make that investment?
Yeah.
You really want me to have, be able to move from, my story, it took so long to get to a PM level. Yeah, but this guy, I think, will accelerate careers, accelerate growth, and ultimately enable us to give better service to all our customers. So I think that's a magnificent investment we've made that's going to really be a game changer for us.
That's super exciting, Mike. Thanks for being on.